show today for Fight Up TV with Sky Sports. Callum Smith, how's things?
Good, very good. Very excited about the new season. So I think a lot of the team are rested, had a nice holiday, and now we just can't wait to be back. We've got fights sort of week in, week out through till December pretty much, both sides of the pond. So yeah, really good time.
It's almost like, you know, as boxing fans we're a bit spoiled really. I think we're going through an era where, do you know what I mean? It's probably not been like this since, say, the mid-90s, but it's an amazing time to be a boxing fan.
I think that's a good point. You know, the mid-90s was really interesting. You know, I started at Sky and ITV were big on boxing. You had Audley Harrison on BBC. There was a lot happening on the terrestrial channels there. Things have changed, obviously, through the years. Sky have kept, you know, rigidly throughout. You know, our commitment to boxing has never ever wavered. But now you're looking at, you know, BT is starting to put big events on. You know, you've got the ITV Super Series, the final coming up. So a lot more competition out there, which is great for the fans because they get to see the best fights. We got to make sure that on Sky we're doing everything to keep our name and game at the top, and we will be. But it's great to see so many people involved. Boxing's really hot, and I think that's a number of reasons it's happened. I think the 2012 Olympics with Anthony Joshua and Katie Taylor and Luke Campbell and those guys and girls coming through. I think the advent of women's boxing. I think Foxgroves at Wembley, and then obviously AJ Klitschko, and big fights being made stateside like your Mayweather Paquiaos, even your Mayweather McGregors, the Circus Show, and you know, Canelo and Golovkin next weekend. You know, there's proper fights being made with the best. And big crowds, big arenas, and everyone's having a good time, so long may it continue.
So obviously we've got Amir Khan in Birmingham this weekend. Obviously his last opponents out, you know, no problem, I think, within 30 seconds. Are we expecting the same again? I think fans generally are. Obviously his opponent Vargas has operated at a decent level, fought some decent opponents. What are we expecting from this fight? Are we expecting it to go a bit longer this time, or are we expecting more of the same?
Well, I think Amir Khan will look to sizzle as quickly as he can from the first bell. That's how he fights. You know, he came a cropper against Bradis Prescott. He learned from that. He went back to the drawing board. He learnt with Freddie Roach. He came through on the world title against Kotelnik on almost like a cautious safety first thing. But with Amir, he loves a fight. He loves to tear up, and he loves to showcase his speed and power. That's what we saw against Phil LaGreca very quickly. Will we see more of that against Samuel Vargas? Maybe. I think they do need rounds, though. I think Joe Goosen and Amir would have spoken about this, about the fact that if he is in a super fight, say in December against Kell Brook or Manny Paquiao, you know, he needs rounds. And I think that Samuel Vargas will be coming all guns blazing, hoping that he can pull off the upset, predicting that he can stop Khan, and of course he will take a lot of buoyancy from the fact that Khan has been flawed before and hurt. But you know, yes, level-wise, Khan should be a level above Vargas. He couldn't get through Spence and Garcia, and I think he'll win Amir. It's a case of how he wins, but I'd like to see Vargas put up a real good show, maybe to go to middle-late rounds and see what Khan's like. You know, because he hasn't had enough ring time since the Canelo fight, and he needs it if he's going into a super fight next.
And in terms of the super fight next, obviously, you know, there's Kell Brook potentially on the cards, there's Paquiao on the cards. Which fight would you prefer to see out those two? They're the main two. Obviously, there's plenty of amazing fights that can happen.
Sure.
They seem to be the two that.
Well, the Garcia Porter winner, and you've got Keith Thurman. You know, welterweight division is fantastic.
Yeah.
The word is Kell Brook's coming back to welterweight. The fight that everybody wants to see is Khan Brook. I mean, if you're this side of the pond, you want to see Khan Brook before they retire. Is it too late? It may be slightly, but you know what? Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather found a way of making it work. Yes, it wasn't a great fight when it happened, but I think Khan and Brook could only be a great fight. I think the styles will work. I think the build-up will be phenomenal. The narrative's great. They don't like each other, and I really implore them to make this fight, and then they can go on and have a rematch, even a third fight if it's great. So you do need a dance partner, and I think certainly at Amir and Kell's stage of their careers, they need that now. Brook would be my preferred choice, but Paquiao would be a fantastic opportunity for everybody to see, you know, a modern great in Paquiao in with Khan or Brook. And you know, it'd be interesting with Khan because he's shared a stable with him under Freddie Roach at the wild card. But I think for me personally, and Eddie knows this, and Amir knows this, and Kell knows this, the fight that I would like to see, and then my team would like to see, I know people like Sam Eggington, and all the great fighters around the countries would like to see, is Brook and Khan.
Okay, and in terms of, obviously, you know, you mentioned obviously kick off the interview with the stars in terms of the season, how exciting that is. A couple of massive fights down the line, you know, obviously potentially on Sky Sports as well. You know, the Usyk Bellew fight, I think, has got a lot of people talking. Some potential complications in the works with that, obviously a mandatory for Usyk to be called. Is that fight going to happen? Can it happen this side of Christmas?
As far as I'm hearing, it will happen, yes. I mean, Tony's in training. I think Usyk's camp are pretty confident that the deal will be done within the next couple of weeks. I think Alexander Usyk is a fantastic fighter. He's been wonderful through the Super Series and even before that. Tony Bellew's going to have his work cut out down at cruiserweight. There's no question about that. But he loves a challenge. He wants all 4 belts, and I think he wants, you know, a last massive test before he retires. So, hoping that gets made for the autumn. We've obviously got other interesting things in the pipeline, and obviously the big deal with DAZN, and so much happening over in America as well. It's mouth-watering, really.
I mean, Bellew's talking about retiring after this Usyk fight. If he beats Usyk and he gets all the belts, in my opinion, Tony Bellew becomes a pay-per-view star without a dancing partner, just in his own right. Can he retire with that sort of status?
You're going to have to ask Tony that. I mean, I work with Tony not just obviously on the build-up to his fights, but he comes and does plenty of Sky work as well. I think he's a terrific commentator and analyst. I think he's a wonderful guy to have on your team. I think he's got enormous passion. We saw in the Creed movie he can act, he can do a number of things, but he's a family man, and I think that he's just got married, and he's very close to his 3 kids, and I think that will play a part. And I think that once he fights Usyk, and if he does, say, pull off the victory, I think he'll probably walk away from it. Will he be tempted to get back in a ring? Listen, Carl Froch, I think, still wants to get back in a ring, but knows that it's not the right decision to do. So you've got to sort of, you know, take the heart and the head and separate them. And I think that Tony will make the right decision for him, but I don't think he'll go on too much longer. So I think that we need to enjoy him while he's here in the ring, and I think we'll enjoy him out of the ring afterwards too.
And I caught up with Callum Smith actually last week, obviously preparing for the massive fight at the end of the boxing Super Series.
Very exciting.
That is a massive fight for him. Again, you know, talking about profile and Usyk and everything else. Again, a massive opportunity for him. How do you see that fight going with George Groves? Do you think we're going to get a 100% fit George Groves? That's what they want.
That's the key. Want that. That's the key. It's a terrific fight, isn't it? I mean, you know, you wanted the final to be Groves, Smith, Groves, also Eubanks, 2 of the 3. You wanted that to happen. Groves was brilliant against Eubank. I was there at ringside, and I really fancy Chris to cause him a lot of trouble. His game plan was brilliant. Shane McGuigan was fantastic. The tactics were spot on, and I think that Callum's got his work cut out if that sort of George Groves turns up. You know, is the shoulder going to be a problem? I think a 100% fit George Groves, you've got to favour him in this fight because of experience and knowledge. I've always been a big admirer of Callum Smith. I think he does everything right. His work rate's terrific. I think he's got good power. I think his jab's fantastic. I think if he can box a smart fight, it's going to be a real close affair. If George is carrying an injury and he goes into the fight 70 or 80%, then Callum's got a wonderful chance of becoming the winner of that series and becoming the world champion that I believe he will become. I'm just not sure if it's a fit 100% Groves, whether it will happen by the end of the month. But Callum Smith will become a world champion. I think it will be a really interesting fight with Groves. If they're both at 100%, it is a pick-em. I think for experience and knowledge, I slightly lean towards George. But you know, Joe Gallagher will have revved his guy up, and Callum has got his brothers around him. There's a lot of experience in there as well. And it may be that Groves is just, you know, there for the taking at this time. He can't go on forever. But he just looks so good against Eubank that it makes it a difficult one. But then Callum might need the name of George Groves to bring out the best in him. I think it's a fantastic fight. It's certainly one I'll be watching.
Yeah. And just to finish off, obviously, you know, we talked about obviously Bellew and Callum Smith and a couple of scouts, but other scouts who's also got a massive fight this weekend. I don't know whether you sort of follow the UFC closely, but obviously Darren is over in Texas. A huge opportunity.
He's become a big star, and you know, Liverpool came out for him. Listen, I think that UFC has become more interesting to us since Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. I worked with Dan Hardy on the week out there, who was a terrific analyst and pundit, you know, and worked with him and Carl and Paulie, and it was fantastic, you know, to be around someone from another world. I think the UFC package everything well, and you know, it's not everyone's favourite sport, certainly if you're not a purist boxing fan, but listen, Darren Till adds a lot of excitement to it, and certainly I'll be keeping an eye on him.
Yeah, well, good man. Well, I say Adam Smith, you know, looking forward to the weekend, and it's good talking to you.
Nice to talk to you.
Good man, cheers.
Cheers, no problem.